Hey guys, today we're going to be ranking the best and worst tank characters in Marvel Rivals in Season 3.5. Now, as you can see here, I've already done my tier list of the support in this game, so feel free to go to that video if you want to see a more in-depth explanation of why I put them where they are. But now let's move on to the tanks. So starting off, we have Magneto. Now, I believe Magneto is S tier, no questions asked about it. He is very good in almost every situation / comp in this game. For example, it really doesn't matter what the other team plays. Now, correct me if I'm wrong, but you can just play Magneto in just about everything. His ultimate is good, his abilities are good, and he's just an overall good, solid tank to have on your team. He has a lot of HP, and he has the ability to solo tank, which not a lot of tanks in this game have. So that is why I put him in the S tier, because his kit is overall good, and he just does not die if he has the right team comp around him. Now for Hulk, I think he's really a skill check character, so with that being said, it really depends on how that person is actually playing Hulk. Of course he has counters in this game, but besides those counters, a good Hulk can make it work. So for that reason, I'm going to put him in the B tier. Now you may not agree with that, but this is just for majority of players because most of the time he's banned anyway, and most of the time people don't play him to his fullest potential. He's kind of like Winston in Overwatch, where you kind of have to like just really master his mechanics, especially in his ultimate, because that is where you shine the most with Hulk. And his mechanics are kind of like the same in his regular form, but it takes it to, of course, a whole nother enhanced level when he's activated. So therefore, I'm going to put him in B, but if you know how to play Hulk, he's easily S tier, without a doubt, easily S tier. He does not die. If you know how to get in and out with him, he's easily S tier. But for majority of people, I'm going to put him in the B tier. Now, moving on to Thor, I'm going to put him kind of in the D. He is not really that good. He has a lot of counters. He can be countered by dive, anti-dive, or poke. It really does not matter. So either way, he's not really a good character in this game, in my opinion. Now, he's been through so many changes in this game. I don't really know what they can do much more to make him a viable pick. But I know in lower ranks, he's kind of a problem alongside with Penny, which we'll get to next. But I don't know. As you climb higher and learn ways to counter him, he becomes so obsolete in this meta and just characters of tanks in general that he's not even worth trying or even playing, so or even really mastering. So that's why I had to put him in the D tier. So yeah, moving on to Penni Parker. Now, I know she causes a lot of trouble in the lower ranks, and I think she has the highest win rate or pick rate, or one of the two, or both of them, but I can see why. Her mines are really, really good, and if you're not paying attention, she can kill you from spawn, and she can kill you if you're not watching where you're stepping in a choke or something like that. Like, she's really good at checking you. So if you don't know where your positioning is or where you're stepping and all of that, she will check you for it, and you will die for it. So that's why I have to put her in the C tier. Now, I don't think she's as bad as Thor. I don't think anyone is as bad as Thor in this tank conversation. But if you know how to use Penny, it really doesn't really matter, because she has so many counters to this game. For example, Hela, Phoenix, Bucky. Like, she is such a ult farmer, it's not even funny. Like, I can't tell you how many times I've gone to 0 to 100% on Bucky in like a minute and a half, just from shooting and constantly hooking Penny into our back line, and she just kind of zips away with her web. But it's just that stupid cycle that gets people ult charges and can literally obliterate her team. So just things like that. I wish she had kind of, mainly like shield mechanics or something like that. Something that kind of makes her a tank, because besides her ultimate ability, that's the only time she's getting shield, which is really not that fun, So that's why I had to put her in the C tier. So yeah, moving on to Captain America. Mr. I can do this all day. Mr. Staller. Man, I think he's kind of a skill check hero too, because most of the time, if someone's playing Cap, Thing is not banned. It's most of the time going to be Emma or someone like that, or Hulk, Namor. Caps really have a lot of space to roam, so that is really why I think Captain America is really A tier. I think he's A tier, but like I said with Hulk, he is a very skill check hero. If you're constantly getting CC'd by Emma and Thing and just other things on your team, he's trash. But A good cap can work around all that, trust me. Like I've said in my previous videos, I've hit at least Celestial or higher in every season since it came out, and I can tell you, cap mains out there are scary, man. They are scary. So do your best to try to CC them with Thing or anything like that, Mr. Fantastic, something that can just get him off of your backline, because if you don't, he's going to obliterate the whole lobby, and that's just not fun for anyone. Because one, there's two types of cap mains, one that can actually kill your team, and the other ones that like to stall, or three really types, and that is a combination of both. So those are scary things to see in any type of hero shooter. So with that being said, I'm going to put him in the A for majority of tanks. So with that being said, I'm going to put Captain America in A for majority of people, because I think he's just that good at stalling and even having the potential to kill backline. Moving on to Venom. Now Venom, he's really good in certain comps. I think you really need to have a Luna or a Rocket so you can damage boost his ultimate, because that's really where he shines. Of course, he's going to get kills, you know, without his ultimate, but I really think when I think of Venom players, I don't rely on them to get kills. I rely on them to go in the back line, kind of like Cap, and just be a pest. Now, I think he does have more potential killing power than Captain America, just based on his abilities and the recent buffs he's had recently with this kind of web grabbing ability where you kind of slow them down after you stick to them for a certain amount of time. So I do think he's really good in those type of hands. So with that being said, I'm going to put him in the B tier. Now, just because he has a lot more counters to himself than I think Cap does, because Cap is so he's easier to get out of the fight rather than Venom. He has to rely on that cooldown of that swing ability to get out. Cap can just run on his unlimited run ability and just repeatedly jump in and out, and I think that's what makes him better than Venom. But otherwise, their playstyles are kind of the same, you know, dive back line, dive back out, get healed, dive back, get ultimates, and just be a pest for a certain or longer amount of period of time. So that's kind of how I see Venom and Cap mains. But I do think Venom is not as good as Captain America. Emma Frost. I'm going to put her in the S tier. Not because, you know, she's getting banned every, you know, freaking game, at least in my games at least, but I really think she's just that good of a tank. She kind of does it all, in my opinion. She has a shield, kind of like Magneto's. It's not a big and long one, but it gets the job done. And you can place it at strategic and convenient times to where you can stop the healing from their other enemy support, or you can block ultimates way much easier than a mag. But I think their playstyles are kind of the same, but I think Emma takes it to a whole nother level of what she can do and provide for her team. Like I said, her beam ability is actually pretty good. Her abilities and just her kit is really freaking good. And the main thing with Emma is your positioning matters so much, because kind of like, you know, Venom and Cap and Thing, which we'll get to later, they don't have shields on a regular, and they really need to watch their positioning so that they don't blow up and get picked off easily. Because if you do, man, that is a vital pick. You are a tank. You cannot be the first one to die if possible. So with that being said, I think Emma does it all. You know, she can grab, anti-dive, she can dive players, or she can anti-dive players if she knows how to correctly grab the dive player. She can also gain energy pretty fast with her beam, and then use her little crystal thing to gain extra attack, gain extra damage rather on the enemy, whoever she plucks with it. I think that's a really good way to finish off enemies. So if you know how to just cycle her abilities really good, I think she's really good in my opinion. And not to mention her ultimate, it stops even fires in this game, but what people really use it for is to stop abilities from being used, mainly for supports and things like that. It is so good if you can time her ult, because soon as you press Q or, you know, both of your buttons on your controllers, it stops supports immediately from using their ultimate ability. And if your DPS or anyone can get picks off of your ult, it is really, really good. But it takes a lot of strategic, you know, implementation and engagement from your team. So if you're ulting, you get 5 people, 3 or 4, 5 people, it really doesn't matter if your team's not there. So you really have to know how to use Emma's kit. And if you can use it with a good team around you to the best of your ability, man, she is easily S tier in my opinion. Moving on to Doctor Strange. Now, he has seen a lot of ups and downs, nerfs and buffs, and things like that. Now, I do think he's got recently buffed, which is good. I think they buffed his fight ability and just maybe the range or the damage of his primary tech. I'll have to read up on that one, but I think where Strange belongs in is B tier. I don't think he is as bad as Penny or as Thor, but I do think he gets kind of countered a lot in this game. Like I said, if you're running any type of dive or brawler in this game, which is kind of potent in this meta right now of Marvel Rivals, he kind of lacks. You know, he's really an offensive, really heavy favored tank. And he's kind of not really defensive like Magneto and Emma. He can't really do much outside for his team besides do damage. And I think that's really where he struggles a lot in this meta. So with that being said, I think he's really good into kind of medium to long range poke metas or comps. But that's not really where we're at right now. It just kind of depends on, you know, game by game situation, of course. But for majority of games, I don't think Strange is going to be that viable. And I honestly don't even really see him that much anymore unless somebody's TPing in overtime or something. I'm not going to lie. That is really the only time I see him now, which is kind of a shame because, you know, I thought he was going to be like the staple of this game, you know, the forefront, you know, and you know, hero shooters like to keep those kind of characters strong so people will keep playing and things like that. But hey, what do I know? I'm just a guy on YouTube. But anyway, I have to put Strange in B tier just for those reasons. He doesn't provide much for his team. He's very offensive, and I don't think he can provide really defensive capabilities for his team, like peeling and anything like that. I don't really think he's the strongest tank character to do that. Now, moving on to Groot. Groot, man, he has a lot of counters too, in my opinion. But in the good hands of a good Groot player, he is easily A tier. He's not S tier, but I think he's A tier. But for majority of people, I'm going to put him in the B tier. And my reasoning is he has a lot of counters, but you can really play around him if you know how to use his walls and your positioning is good. For example, most of the time, obviously, the biggest counter to Groot is Wolverine. As you can see, I was already about to say it. But most of the time, he's already banned. So that's really the only counter you have to worry about. Oh, wait, there's more. You have, you know, flyer characters, poke characters, Punisher, Hela, Torch, Storm, things like that. Bucky. It's just so many characters that really pokes Groot out. But I think with this certain season that we're at right now, especially with his team up and things like that, just having a Loki or, you know, someone with high healing outburst damage or just potency is really, really good for Groot. And he's such an ult farmer for your support. It's not even funny. He probably farms his supports faster than any other tank I've ever played with. And that's really good. But other than that, he does get countered quite a bit, but that's why I'm going to have to put him in the B tier. I think he's just so many counters to him in this game, but if you can really make it work with him, he's easily a tank player. Now moving on to Thing. Now there's kind of mixed reviews about Thing, so I'm just going to give my opinion on where he stands. Now I think Thing is obviously really good into dive, but other than that, I don't really see him being that good. Like I said, if you're playing if Black Panther Wolverine somehow gets unbanned, then you're gonna run Thing. But let's say they have a Namor or even a Hela or Bucky, like this is gonna be so hard for you to engage and dive their backline or even just punch their tanks because they have a poke character behind them and you most likely don't. And even if you do, they can't do as much damage as their DPS can, which kind of sucks. So with that being said, I think Thing is such a just, you know, body bag for people to just get their ults off, and that really sucks for a character like Thing. Like, he's really good, but man, he just has a lot of counters in this game and it's not really fun. Now, I don't want to use my bias here. Me personally, I would put him in the B tier, maybe A tier. No, I'm just kidding. I wouldn't put him there. But he respectfully is a C tier character. Now, he is not as bad as Thor. I don't think anyone is as bad as Thor because, let's face it, Thing literally counters Thor. But there's just so much damage and, you know, people and characters in this game that can outgun him. Literally, like, he has no weapon or range to him. So that's literally why him and Penni Parker belongs in the same tier, is because they just have so many counters in this game. It's not even funny. Like characters you didn't even think could counter them will counter them, which is kind of ironic, you know. But you know, like I said, I think Thane belongs in the same tier as Penni Parker. As you can see here, guys, this is my tier list video for tank characters in Marvel Rivals Season 3.5. If you guys did enjoy the video, go ahead and give a like and subscribe. I'd love to keep making these tier list videos as the seasons go on. And like I said, feel free to comment down below if you agreed or disagreed with something or placement in this video, and I'd love to get back with you. But like I said, if you didn't catch the other video where I talk about my placements for supports, go ahead and check out that video. I really go in depth on why I believe these characters should be where they are. But with that being said, thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.